Let's set up an email triage agent with Google's new Workspace Studio. I already have this set up. It's working really well, and it's relatively easy to set up even if you're a total beginner with AI and automation and agents. But if you're new here, my name is Meredith. This is the Bots Mean Business channel, and let's just jump into this. So what I created is an email triage where it gets triggered when I get an email, any email to my public email address, basically my customer service inbox essentially. And then once that gets triggered, the very first step is a big Gemini prompt. And I used Google Gemini to help me create this. It's specific to my business, but you'll be able to adapt it to your business. Just take a screenshot of this, throw it into your favorite LLM, and you'll have this prompt. But basically, you're giving it a role. You are an email triage classifier. And what I'm doing with this triage agent is distinguishing between emails that are coming from an actual paid client or student or member of Video Brand Academy, or a potential lead, so somebody that's not currently a paid client, student, or member, but maybe somebody from my YouTube channel or somebody just asking a question or wanting to connect with me in some way. They might not technically be a lead, but it's like not a cold pitch, but also not a paying client. And then the third category is a just random pitch that would most of the time, 99% of the time, be considered spam. But every once in a while, I get a legitimate pitch for something. So those are the three kind of categories that I'm asking this prompt to distinguish between. And then for the folks that do get categorized as a client, there are some subcategories that they're usually emailing me about. So they either want to cancel their subscription to Video Brand Academy, or they're canceling something and asking for a refund, or if it's just an inquiry about cancellation, like how do I cancel, or a billing issue, tech support, or just a general question. And then all I'm asking this prompt to do is just output something. So it's outputting either client, lead, pitch, or any of these kind of subcategories. And then the input I'm giving it is the subject line of the email that triggers the agent, and then the body of the email. Step 3 is a check if step. This is saying if in step 2, that's this Gemini prompt, if step 2 output contains client, then we're going to run this whole step 3. So if Gemini determines that this is a paying client, it's going to get labeled as a client, and then the email is going to get a star. So when I go to check my email inbox, I can see which ones have stars. Those are going to be important for me to look at first. And they're also going to be labeled which ones are clients. Then it's going to move on and say, okay, if in step 2, the output, it was determined that this is a cancellation and a refund request all in one. If the output of step 2 contains cancel and refund, then we're going to draft a reply. So the label got added, this is a client. The star got added because it's a client. Now, if they're asking for cancellation and refund, we're going to draft a reply. Now, I don't have refunds for Video Brand Academy, so I am drafting a reply that's like, no problem, got your cancellation, blah, blah, blah. And then it explains that there are no refunds. So that just creates the email reply. It doesn't send it. And I added a step way down here at the bottom, which is very similar, but it's just if in step 2, Gemini determines that this is just a cancellation request, then we're going to draft a completely separate reply. It's basically very similar to the refund request, it just doesn't have the bit about the refund. Since Workspace Studio is still pretty new, it's a little bit sort of wonky to kind of organize all of the steps here. It doesn't really matter what order they go in for this email triage as long as all of the steps get completed. But I just rearranged a little bit. Let me hit save. But those 3 steps sort of take care of any incoming paid client emails. If I go back to my Gemini prompt, I did ask it to categorize cancel only, cancel and refund, inquiry, billing, tech, or general question. I haven't created an action for every single one of those things just yet, but I will in the future. So let's move on here. Step 10 is going back to the original prompt, the original Gemini prompt up here. If the output of that prompt contains lead, then we're going to add a label, the lead label, and we're going to star the email. It's not going to do anything else, and I don't even really need it to star anything for me. So I could come in here and actually delete this. I don't really need it. And then the last phase here is if the output of that Gemini prompt contains pitch, then we add a label pitch and we create a reply. Now, I don't usually send a reply email if it seems like it's just kind of like spam BS, right? But I have it just automatically set to draft that reply. So all I have to do is hit send, or I open that email, I look at it and I'm like, oh, this is actually legitimate. I actually want to respond to this person. Then I just change the draft and have that conversation. Now, if I was very confident in how this agent was working, I could send the email automatically, but right now all I have is for it to set up drafts for me. Here's an idea of what that looks like in my actual inbox. You can see how most of the things are labeled pretty well. This one here, this is an obvious pitch for something, paid collaboration, not something I'm interested in. And it automatically drafted a response for me. And then all I had to do is hit send. Some of these were test emails for me. So here's one where I sent myself a test email, I'd like a refund, and it properly categorized and drafted the appropriate email. So from here, all I would have to do is hit send, or if I needed to edit it or personalize it in some way, I could do that too. Then I had a few emails from paying members who had questions or just responding to emails, and it properly designated them as clients and then starred those emails for me. Some of the other steps that you can add to this are ask a gem, and for whatever reason right now, it's not pulling in gems that I created in my own Google Gemini account. It's only pulling in sort of like the default gems that Google gives you. So there's a lot of other things that it can do, like recap your emails. It can extract content. I've tried to use this, but I'm not totally sure how it works, to be totally honest. And there are several Gmail functions, Google Chat functions. I could see a situation where maybe I don't want to be tied to my help desk email constantly, but if I get an urgent email from a paying client, maybe I want a Google Chat notification to get to me right away so that I can respond to it. We have access to Google Sheets, Google Drive, Calendar, Docs, Task. It has an Asana integration. So there's a lot of options here. What's great is it's already connected to everything that you have in your Google account. So if I go over here to the Discover, it has a bunch of pre-made automations, agents that you can try out, which I highly recommend, just so that you can see how they are actually set up, so you can configure your own. You can even ask Gemini, explain what you're trying to build. That's how I set up my triage to begin with, and it will help you kind of create that and put it together. I'm hoping we get some more integrations other than Asana. I use ClickUp for my project management, so it'd be really cool to integrate with that. So far, it's only been a couple of days, and I'm really impressed with how easy it is to create these agents and do, for me, a lot of the heavy lifting of the customer service stuff in my inbox.